Iranian president has broadcast a message apologizing to Iran's Arab neighbors for striking them with missiles and drones. And he said it will stop doing so as long as no attacks come from them. The recorded message comes as Israel steps up its attacks on Tehran, along with heavy bombardments across the country. Well, these are the latest pictures from inside Iran. They show huge explosions in western Tehran, where state television reported airstrikes at Mehrabad Airport. That's Iran's busiest airport and main domestic hub. Eyewitnesses reported planes burning on the tarmac. It's exactly 1 week now since the US and Israel launched its assault on Iran. The Iranian Red Crescent says more than 1,300 people have been killed in the country since then. Well, Iran has continued to launch retaliatory strikes across the Middle East, including in Bahrain and in Dubai, where there's been a drone strike near Dubai International Airport. The BBC has verified this video showing the attack. There's also confusion about the status of flights now going in and out of Dubai. Well, let's hear the Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian, apologizing to neighboring Arab countries on state TV.
I must apologize on my own behalf, on behalf of Iran, to the neighboring countries that were attacked by Iran. The Interim Leadership Council agreed yesterday that no more attacks will be made on neighboring countries and no missiles will be fired unless an attack on Iran originates from those countries.
What profession will always be in demand? Right now, I'm learning the ropes in the construction industry and working as a general laborer.
Originates from those countries.
Well, let's cross live now to Doha and speak to our correspondent there, Barbara Plett-Usher, who is there for us. And Barbara, we heard there the Iranian president apologizing to Arab neighbors, saying, look, if you don't attack us, we won't attack you. Given that we've heard the Qatari Defense Ministry say it's intercepted missiles again very recently in the last few hours, how is that message going to be taken?
Carefully. What Mr. Pezeshkian said was that Iranian military units had acted on their own authority and did what they deemed necessary after their commanders were killed. That seems to be referring to the Iranian defense strategy, which is they really decentralized the decision-making powers in the anticipation that the leadership would be taken out as it was done during the 12-day war. So in effect what he's saying, I think, is that the strikes against the neighboring countries were done without a central command. Now, he didn't say that exactly, but he said that the military units were acting on their own authority and doing what they deemed necessary. And he's saying now that the Interim Leadership Council, which is a body of 3, including the president, which has taken over since the Ayatollah was killed, had a meeting and had decided that there would be no more attacks on neighboring states unless these states attacked Iran, and that had been communicated to the armed forces. So that sounds a little bit like a development. I think the fact that as the statement was being made, there was another missile intercepted in Qatar. There was a projectile in the United Arab Emirates as well that was shot down, but some of the debris caused a fire. There have been missiles and drones reported elsewhere, will result in a lot of skepticism, but we will see in the coming hours, and I expect by the end of this day, whether this has actually had an impact.
Yes, absolutely, and I guess if it does have an impact and those strikes and attacks from Iran do stop, that'll be so welcomed by the Gulf nations, because it has been an extremely difficult week for all of them in so many senses.
Yes, absolutely. The Gulf states and the people living in them obviously were expecting that there would be some retaliation from Iran if the U.S. and Israel started striking Iran because of the U.S. military bases in the region, and the Iranians had made very clear that they would target those bases, and the Gulf states had made very clear that they would not allow those bases to be used by the U.S. to launch attacks. So I think that part of it was not so unexpected. The Gulf leadership had warned the U.S. that a worst-case scenario would be that the Iranians targeted oil and gas infrastructure, and that is what we have seen as well. So they saw their worst fears coming true, and there were security issues, obviously, with the incoming fire, but also the economy has been very badly disrupted, the oil and gas industry in particular. I think what Mr. Pezeshkian also said was that the region should deal with its issues itself, that they should come to peaceful terms, and that they should solve things diplomatically. So that's really the big question. If the attacks stop, what sort of diplomatic process would the Arab leadership be involved in? They had been very involved beforehand, mediating between Iran and the United States, trying to stop this, but what they've been saying since they were attacked is that they are uniting. They have united together in opposition to Iran, in defense from what is happening from Iran, and they have, I think what you see is that Iran has been isolated, and that may have some impact on how the diplomacy is carried out.
Barbara, thank you very much indeed, Barbara Usher there in Doha. Well, meanwhile, Iran has also launched retaliatory strikes on Israel. Air raid sirens have rung out in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv as Israelis face incoming ballistic missiles and drones overnight. Most appear to have been shot down by Israel's air defense system. We spoke to John Donaldson, who's in Jerusalem.
Well, the Israeli Air Force, Anna, says it used 80 fighter jets to carry out strikes on Tehran and central Iran overnight. As we were hearing, the airport in Tehran, the main commercial airport, has been badly hit. Huge plumes of smoke over at the terminal there, a big fire. We've seen planes on the tarmac there on fire as well. And Israel saying it also targeted what it called regime infrastructure, missile stockpiles and missile launch. We heard President Trump yesterday saying that 60% of Iran's launches have now been destroyed. In the opposite direction, Iran has continued to target Israel with drones and ballistic missiles. We've had the sirens go off here in Jerusalem a couple of times this morning and overnight, and in Tel Aviv as well. Most of those missiles, we think, shot down by Israel's air defense system.
A year ago, I was convinced I wasn't good at anything. All I did was scroll endlessly through.
John Donaldson there. As we heard earlier, Iran has launched a drone strike near Dubai's airport amid the fighting. It's adding to the ongoing confusion about the status of flights in and out of Dubai today. The United Arab Emirates says another Iranian strike was intercepted early this morning. Officials say it was a minor incident with no injuries. The BBC's Nick Beak has more from Dubai.
It's been a really confusing couple of hours here in Dubai. Let me try and take you through what's happened and what we know at the moment. So the latest we're hearing is that at the airport, at Dubai International Airport, the flights there are resuming once again. But it has been really confusing because just a few hours ago we had an alert sent out to everyone's phone saying that there was another threat of incoming.
ईरान के सुप्रीम लीडर आयतुल्लाह खामनेई की शहादत को 5 दिन हो गए हैं और ईरान में नई सुप्रीम लीडर की तैनाती के हवाले से मुख्तलिफ खबरें सामने आ रही हैं। सुप्रीम लीडर के इंतखाब के ईरानी इदारे मजलिस खबरें सामने आ रही हैं। सुप्रीम लीडर के
threat of incoming fire from Iran, and the authorities said hours of this morning there was interception of an attack from Iran and that there was some debris that fell to the ground. There were no injuries apparently, and the authorities saying that this was a minor incident. Explicitly, the authorities said that there was nothing happening or no impact on the no impact on the international airport. No impact on the international airport.
However, a short time afterwards, there were flights that were suspended, and there was an announcement made that operations were shutting. Emirates, one of the two flag carriers here.
A lot of Americans are rather surprised to find they're at war with Iran. American service personnel have died, and yet the public are asking, why was this war necessary, especially at this moment? What is the United States trying to achieve? How long might it last? These are some very big questions, especially at the point when the Defense Secretary says they're only just at the beginning.
Americas from BBC News.
We can talk now to Robert Malley, and he was one of the lead negotiators of the 2015 nuclear deal that was done between the US and Iran under President Obama, and he was the US Special Envoy to Iran under the Biden administration. And so he has actually dealt with these Iranian negotiating teams talking about trying to put limits on the development of their nuclear program. Thanks